all these plants screaming at me, pick me, pick me, pick me, you know. And in that regard, I'll just say for all of you Warren Wilson students, I'm going to be doing a class here that's more extended in a couple weeks. On April 22nd, it's a Sunday. I'm going to be doing what's called a forage and feast, kind of stock and trade, probably like 12, 13, 14th time I've done that class right in this beautiful garden. So we'll come out, we'll do a plant walk that's a little more extended, about 2.5 hours. We'll harvest things as we go, and then we'll bring them up into that lovely cabin, and we'll make a meal from what we found. And definitely I think one of the best ways to do this is to kind of integrate it from the field to the fork, you know, versus like just having the intellectual aspect of being on the walk part. So please join me. Any students, unfortunately it's just for students, that one, but I do similar classes. We actually have one coming up, in Johnson City, and yeah, and there will be other ones too. So you can go to the website if you want to know about any and all classes that I'll be teaching. But we've got this one right here. I just wanted to point this out because this is my total nemesis. So I graduated from Warren Wilson in 2004, and then I was lucky enough to get asked to manage this space for a year in 2005. And one of my biggest goals was to get rid of this plant that is right here. And obviously I wasn't successful. That was 7 years ago, and it's still going strong. So what's this one? Yeah, Japanese knotweed.
Polygonum
Kind
cuspidatum.
of looks similar to jewelweed, which I also heard, but jewelweed's in a different family. So this is in the Polygonaceae, kind of like that Rumex that we were looking at, the yellow dock that was over there. And it's got like this really typical knobbiness wherever the leaf meets the main stem. It's knobby. So polygonum, you know, means kind of many swollen parts, you know, basically. And so that family is famous for that. So that's a different characteristic that you can kind of pick up on. And this one in particular is one of the many that came over from Asia, has invaded the place. Like you could just get like a little piece of root just like that, you know, will like make a new plant. And so like we would dig it up, we would like mulch it. We mulched it with cardboard, we mulched it with plastic, we mulched it, you know, tried to get every single little piece up. God bless the garden crew of that age that tried to do that, and yet it's still here. And so I guess there's a reason for that. The biggest reason I can think of is the fact that this plant has been indicated in the use against Lyme disease, which is one of the big issues that we have, especially in the Northeast, but I know that it's out west. It's not as much down south yet, at least, but could possibly spread. And I certainly have a number of close people in my life that have been afflicted by it. It's something that can go under the radar too and get misdiagnosed as a number of other things. It's definitely something that is easier to treat the earlier you use it. And so in that regard, I think just kind of keep that in mind. If you're ever in a deer tick type area and you're starting to get symptoms that are similar to what Lyme disease can present, then really try to be proactive with that. So the one thing that you can see, and there's this whole book called Healing Lyme by Stephen Buhner that he speaks about this plant, and it's really resveratrol is the compound that's in this plant, that's very high in this plant, also in grapes, also in other things that can apparently be able to help with the Lyme disease type of affliction. So I'm thinking, you know, that some of these lemons we need to make into lemonade. You know, that's a big part of my research. Got over 100 different species of plants that are considered exotic invasive issues that have some kind of cool use, whether it's for food or medicine or beauty. And, you know, this is also a natural dye plant for that matter. And so we need to really just, instead of like looking at these as problems, we need to turn them into resources. You know, that's another big thing. Permaculture. That's a good question. Like I'm at the level with my dyes now that's like I know it's a dye plant, you know, and I still, it's like yellow, blue, red, you know, is a little bit hard. What's the concentration? What part do you use? Once again, just like the medicine and the food, you need to know all those details, and I haven't quite gotten there yet. But if you follow up with me, if you're interested in natural dyes, I've got friends that do it, and I've got this plant list, like I said, and it's something that I'm very avidly interested in, so I'm happy to follow up with you. Yeah. Yeah, that's really special. No, but yeah, this is one that you wouldn't see very often. But this is cool in that it comes into this group of adaptogens, and that's another big take-home thing. Go Google it. Treat yourself, and especially treat your parents, because this is going to keep them from getting senile. This is going to keep the love in their life, you know, just like we have a lot easier than they do. And, you know, give them energy, you know, when they're drained, and also energy to you when you're stressed. So what we have here is Akebia, and this is known as, oh Lord Almighty, I hate when I hear a scientific name and not the common name. Luke? No? No? Oh man. Akebia. Well, anyway, I think it'll come to me.
Is it a Chinese name?
Yeah, it is a Chinese one. No. There's another chocolate vine it's called too, but that's not the best one. But anyway, just to know that this is an adaptogen, just to get that term out there, I think is more than anything. This one can also go invasive though. It is from Asia, and like a lot of Asian plants, they basically grew up in a similar environment as we have here, similar soil, similar climate, and that sort of thing, but they don't have the diseases and the insects often that were keeping them in check over there, and so then they tend to explode. Also, you might hear it sometimes on a walk around here still that this is the most diverse area for plants in the world, but it's not. It's actually one of the most, and definitely by far more diverse than Europe and various other places of our country. But Asia, Eastern Asia, is by an order of magnitude way more diverse, and so you could think of them as the best of the best of the best plants that have ever, you know, lived on the planet, that have like come up in the battle royale of plants over there, and so then they come over here and they're like, oh, this is a cakewalk, you know, like, been there, done that. And so this large Zittabulaceae, you know, so this is like when I said, like, you know, most of the plants around here will fit into 30 families, you know, this is the only one in this family that you'll see, and it's not even from here, you know, type of thing. So Akebia is the scientific name, and chocolate vine is one name, but there is another, like, more common name. I wasn't expecting to see it here, so it wasn't like prepped, you know, like over 1,000 plants are like trying to like.
How's Akebia spelled?
Akebia.
Do you
Yeah, Robert Itis would know it too, because he has it growing all along his fence right now. Yeah, and it's got a really beautiful flower, and like just that coloration alone, you know, as I was saying, you can often learn plants by learning their flower characteristics, but also flower color. You know, some families tend to have yellows and oranges, some families tend to have blues and lilacs, and, you know, various different ranges in between. And this is just like one of those like super kind of you know, specialized ones that, you know, it might take a while to actually get exposed to it or get to learn. But the fact that it's got these compound leaves, you know, like 5 compound leaves, you know, is something that you're not going to see very often on almost any plants, especially like vines. So it's a pretty easy one to nail just as soon as you see it once you learned it that first time. Gosh, it's going to like kill me, man. It's not Jagulan, no. Yeah. Totally. And that's a good guess because that's another adaptogen too. But yeah, don't really have that one right now.
How would you use that for medicine or?
That's a good question. I actually haven't used it, so I can't really vouch for that as of now. I mean, that's like a book learned type of thing. I mean, even for me, you know, this is like definitely like one of those ones that's just like kind of right on the edge, but it is like super prolific. So for instance, if it had some similarities like ginseng, then, you know, going to something like this ahead of time I think would be instead of ginseng would be good. And I'll just point out like another just like super major one, then I'm afraid that we're gonna have to call it for the day. Like, didn't even really scratch the surface, but with a short walk, that's not hard to do, I guess.